So hello and welcome to Desmos Geometry. Today I am going to be doing a full tutorial on everything that you can do in Desmos Geometry. So first of all, what is Desmos Geometry? Well, Desmos Geometry is a great tool for you to create constructions without having to grab a piece of paper, a pencil, a ruler, a compass, all that stuff. All you have to do is just open up your computer, go to desmos.com/geometry, and here you go. A template ready to start constructing. So first, a few things about Desmos Geometry. So you can make an account in Desmos Geometry if you want to save your constructions. So here, as you can see, I've made my account, and if you save any constructions in your account, then they will pop up here. You just have to press this here, and then you'll find all of the constructions that you have made. Okay, so now let's actually start doing some stuff on our construction template in Desmos Geometry. So here we have all the tools we can use. So there's quite a few. There's point, there's circle, there's polygon, angle, segment, line, ray, vector, and arc. I'll explain how to do all of them. So the simplest one is just point. All you have to do is just click on point, and now you're ready to make some points. So all you have to do to make a point is just to click on it somewhere on the screen, and you'll make a point. There we go. That's 2 points. Okay, so next we'll do segments, lines, and rays. So these three are actually pretty much very similar. So for segment, all you have to do is just select 2 points, and it will join as a segment. You don't not have to select new points. You can also select pre-existing points. For example, I can connect these two up just by clicking on them. Now line and ray work the same, so you first line, then you get 2 points, for example this one, and then I'll make another point. Except line just extends in both directions, and ray only extends in one. Whichever direction is the second point that you pick. Vector is also the same. It's just a segment that has a little arrow pointing on it. Okay, now let's do circle. So for circle, all you have to do is first select the center of your circle. For example, this one. Then you have to select a point on the outside of the circle. So for example, this point here. This means that the radius of your circle will just be the distance between the 2 points that you selected. Okay, so now let's do polygon. So polygon just makes a polygon of any shape. So it's very simple. You just have to select all the points of your polygon in order. So let's say we're making a quadrilateral here. Then you just have to select on this point, select on this point, select this point, then select this point. Then just select one of the points that you've already made to finish the polygon. There you go. That's our polygon. Now let's do angle. So angle just finds the angle between two lines or something like that. So how you do it? So for example, let's say we want to find this angle here. Then we first click on one of the legs. So one of the points. So 1 point on this segment. So let's just say this one. Then we click on the vertex. Then we click on an angle on the other line, on a point on the other line. So like there, and now we have the angle. It is 137 degrees. Now the final tool is arc. To do an arc, all you have to do is just select 3 points, and then it will give you an arc that starts at the first point, passes through the second point, and then ends at the third point. So for example, these 3 points, we can make an arc that looks like this. Now there is also a more tools section here, where there are quite a few more tools, and I'll explain how they work. So compass is first you choose a segment to be the radius, then you pick a point to be its center. So the circle center, and now you make a circle. There is also midpoint, so what we have to do here is just to select a segment, and you will get the midpoint of the segment. Then there is also parallel line. So if you first select a line, then you select a point that you want your parallel line to pass through, and then you will get a line that's parallel to the line you selected and passes through the point that you selected. Perpendicular line works the same way. You select a line, and then you select a point for it to pass through right there. Now I'm going to talk about something called labels. So labels is just a label that you can put on some objects. So for example, we can click on a point and then we can label the point what we want. For example, by default it's just A, then B, then C, and so on. We can change this label. For example, if we want to call it P, then we can just type P. Now it's point P. Now you can also apply it to some other objects. Some objects you can't do labels. For example, lines, you can't add labels. You can just check there. And for the circle, you also can't add label. Segment, you can also add a label, but there is a special label that you can add. It is the length label. So if you go here, you can add the length label, and it'll tell you how long the segment is. Or you can just change it to a regular label. For example, just line H, or and you can also have double labels, so you can have two labels here. As you can see, you have an H, and I've also put the length there. Another thing that you can do is change the color of your objects. So by default, all points are purple, all segments, lines, rays, vectors, and polygons are blue, all circles and arcs are green, and all angles are black. You can change this. For example, let's say we want to make this circle black. Then we just have to click on it, and then here's a whole range of colors. We can make it black like that. One useful thing that you can do with colors is you can use it to highlight some object of your construction. It may, for example, be your final target of your construction. Now, there's also this thing called lock free point. So right now, most of the points can just move however you want. Yeah, but if you press on a point, for example, this one, then you press lock free point, now it'll become a smaller point, and now you can't move the point. And if you move everything else, then you move everything except for that point. So because this point also controls this line, then you can't move this line. You can also unlock a point just by pressing on it and then just pressing that. Now it's not locked anymore. Now the final thing that you can do is hide an object. For example, let's say we don't want to see this line over here. Then all we have to do is just press on it and then click hide. Now, as you can see here, it says one hidden object. If you tick that box, then you will see it just in the background, so like a very faint image, or you can just choose to not see it at all. So one last thing you might need to do for these tools is to select multiple objects. For example, if you want to add a label to multiple objects, or you want to lock multiple free points, or if you want to change the color of multiple objects to one single object, or if you want to hide multiple objects, then all you have to do is just hold down Shift on your keyboard and then click on all the objects that you want to select, and then it will automatically select them all for you. And now you can just, for example, you can change them all to green, or you can change them all to purple, or you can just hide them all, and there you go. Now there is also this button up here that you can press. So if you press on this, then you'll find this button that says projector mode. if you press on it, it just makes everything way bigger. And normally I don't use this because it just kind of looks too big. So you can just turn it off by pressing it again. Now you can also show a grid, so if you press on that, then there will be a grid in the background. And here again, you can also access the 5 hidden objects that you have hidden. So the final thing that you might want to do is this button here that says transform, and you can do a bunch of transformations. Now I am going to explain this next, but for now, let's just say we finished our construction and we want to save it. And if you have an account, of course, that is, if you don't have an account, then you will not be able to save your work, but you will just be able to take a screenshot. Now to save your work, all you have to do is just first press here. You can name your construction. I'm just gonna call this tutorial 1. Okay, save that here, and now it's saved. Now you'll also see that there is now a link at the top, so you can now bookmark it and you can access it later, or you can just press here and it will be in your saved constructions. So now I'm going to explain what all of these transformations do and how they work. So I've already prepared some example constructions on how these transformations work. So just go in here, and so first let's look at dilation. So here's my construction on dilation. So I've already applied this dilation here. So this is my center point, and then this is my object to apply to, and this is now my result point. So I can show you how this works later. First I'll just go through all of the different transformations. So now there's also rotation. So rotation just rotates an object some amount of angle. So here, this is the center point, this is the point that we are applying the transformation to, and this is the result. And I did it with an angle of 90 degrees, so this angle is 90 degrees. Now there's also translation. So translation, just for example here, I've done a translation from this point to this point. I've also applied it to this point here, so that it actually becomes a parallelogram. So whatever direction this goes in, then this also goes in the same direction for a translation. Now there's also reflection. So here I've reflected this point across this line here, and this line will just basically be the perpendicular bisector of this segment here, which is the connection of the 2 points from the starting point and after the transformation. Now finally, probably the most complicated one is rotation and dilation. So this just does a rotation and then also does a dilation. So here I've done a rotation and dilation to this point Q using these point O, P, and P prime. So as you can see, this is just a rotation and dilation here. So this is first you do a rotation with this, so you get O, A, and A prime, then you do a dilation to get O, Q, and Q prime. So then Q becomes Q prime, and that is how the rotation and dilation works. So now I'm going to get another new construction to show you how all the transformations work. So first up on the list we have a dilation. So let's just do a dilation first. So all you need for dilation is just 2 points. This is the center, this is the point for dilation. Then all you have to do is just go here, press dilation. Then first you choose the center point, then you choose the scale factor. By default it's 2, you can make it whatever number you want. For example, let's make it 3. Then you select an object to apply the transformation. So for example, that one. Then you can apply it, and then you get that point over there. Now next, let's do our rotation. So we've already got enough points for this. So for rotation, we first have to choose a point center, and then we have to choose an angle. By default it's 90 degrees, and just note that this is going counterclockwise. So let's say we're going to go anti-clockwise 60 degrees, we change that to 60. Yeah, and now we select some object to apply the transformation, for example this point here, and then if we apply it, then it'll go 60 degrees. This angle is 60 degrees. Now let's do a reflection. So for a reflection we will need a line. So let's make a line. Let's say we're reflecting this point across this line here. Then we go to here, we press reflection. So first we choose the line of reflection, and we select the objects to apply the transformation, in this case just this point here. Then we apply the reflection, and now you can't really see it because it's all the way over there. So if you just move this over here, and now you will see that it has been reflected over this line. Now we can also do a translation. So let's say we've got these 2 points here, and we want to do a translation the same direction from this point to this point, and from this point to some point over here. Then we go to here, transform, then we press translation. So first we choose a point from this one, choose point 2, which is this one. Now we select the object to apply the transformation, which is this one, and apply it. And now we have our translated point. Now finally the rotation and dilation. So let's say we want to do the same rotation and dilation. So let's say we got this point as the center from this point to this point, and we want to act it on this point. Okay, so then we go into transformation, rotation, dilation. First choose the point center. This is the center. Then you choose from this point to that point. Then you select the object to apply the transformation, and now you apply. And now it's just the same. It's just do a rotation. Yeah, do a rotation, and it's also being dilated. So that's all the things you can do with the transform function. So one last thing I want to tell you about transformations. You do not necessarily have to do them to points. You can do them to any object. For example, let's do it to a segment. Let's say we want to dilate, so let's make this segment here, and let's say we want to dilate a scale factor of 2 from this point here. Then all we have to do is just define a new transformation. We're going to do a dilation, so we choose this point center. Then we, let's say, scale factor 2, and you know what? Let's do a scale factor of a half, because we can do, it doesn't not let me, 0.5. So you can't do fractions. You have to do a number. Then you can select the object to apply the transformation. So in this case, we're doing it with the segment. We apply it, and now we have a new segment that's over here. Let's scale down from here to here with the center of this point. Note that the points don't actually come with the segment, so if you want to do it with the points on either end of the segment, then you can just delete that first. Then you can select the segment and the 2 points using shift. Then we apply it, and now we have the 2 endpoints of our segment as well. Now of course we have to save it, so I'm just going to call this tutorial 2. There we go. So the final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a small construction. I'm just going to be constructing a perpendicular bisector. So let's get a new construction just by going here. Now we have a new construction, and now the first thing we're going to do for this construction is we're going to make 2 points like that. Then we connect them together into a segment. Now we are going to make a perpendicular bisector of this segment. Now an easy way to do it would just simply go to more tools, get a midpoint and get a perpendicular line, but I'm not going to be using the more tools because you can't really do that with a normal straight edge and compass. I'm just going to do it the long way. It doesn't really matter, it's still pretty short. So you just get a circle here. You have a circle centered at one of the points, and the other point is going to be on the circle. And now do it the same but the other way around. And now you get these 2 points. So now we need to use a line. Then we just simply connect these 2 points together. Now we have our perpendicular bisector. Now to show that this is indeed a perpendicular bisector, we can show that this angle is 90 degrees, and we also need to show that these 2 segments are the same. So first let's do the angle. So first we choose point on the leg, so a point on this line here. Let's pick this one. Then we need to pick the vertex, which is this one, and pick the other leg, so somewhere here. Let's pick this one, and now here we go. See, it's 90 degrees. Okay, so now we need to make sure that these 2 segments are equal. Now we can use the length function for this. However, we can't just select this segment and put a label, because that's just going to give the length of the whole segment. We want the 2 different parts. To do this, we will need to make 2 more segments, just as I talked about. So this one here and this one here. Now we have our 2 segments. We can use Shift to select both of those segments, and now we can press label, and now we have our label. They are indeed the same. So we have constructed a perpendicular bisector. Now, just as one last thing, let's hide the thing that we don't need using the hide function. So the things that we don't really need that isn't part of the final result are the 2 circles here and the 2 points here. So we can just select all of those using Shift. Like that. We can press hide, and now they've hidden, and all we have is our perpendicular bisector. Of course, we can always show it in the background if we want. And don't forget to save your construction once you have finished. So let's call this perpendicular bisector. There we go. We save it. Now we can see that it's saved. So that's it for this video on Desmos geometry. Thank you for watching. Hope you found this tutorial useful and you found this interesting. If you want to check out some more Desmos geometry videos that I have made, then I will put a link to that in the description, and also a card in the top right corner for you to access the playlist. I recommend you to also use Desmos geometry for most of your other constructions. As I said before, it is much easier than using pencil and paper and rulers, compass, all of that stuff. And as usual, I will link to all 3 of these constructions in the description for you to access. And otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.